Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, welcome to our comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's twinning some string with me tonight?
Hey everybody, it's Kenneth Sanity, and I hear the secrets that you keep while you're talking in your sleep.
I like that song.
And this is Chris Dobson from all my friends, or some of my friends read comics and Your Stupid Minds. And I think you care about other people too much. It'll get you into trouble someday.
And we are continuing our Sandman Journey. Well, my Sandman Journey, and you guys are accompanying me on my quest to read books that came out in the 90s. So we are finally got to Volume 9, Sandman, the Kindly Ones, that originally came out in February 1994 and ran till 95. Issues 57 through 69 and the weird vertical jam thing.
Yeah. It took us a while to get here, but we're here now.
It is funny because I was reading comics at this point, but this was not a book I would have been like, oh yeah, like I'm picking up Age of Apocalypse and how's Sandman ending?
Yeah.
This is a tough. These are big books. Like not even like the idea of like physical big books. Like they're deep.
I mean, this one is physically big too. I think this is the longest one of the individual 10 volumes. The digital version is 354 pages, which is hefty.
Yeah, it's I think issues 58 to 69 or something like that, and with one like little mini on top of that as well.
57 to 69, yeah.
57 to 69. And yeah, like I said, there's also the Castle, which is like a 12-page.
Which is...
I didn't understand. Like, I mean, I understand what the Castle's trying to say. It's the thing is in the vertical jam, which is essentially called buy our other books and give us money. That's all I said.
I mean...
Yeah. I only read the Sandman part.
I mean, you're not really missing. I mean, half of the Castle is like literally setting up like, here's all the characters.
Yeah, it's basically just a tour of the dreaming.
Okay.
And like, it's everybody talking to this person that we never see.
So I do like the guy's nightmare where the women are biting him, and that's okay until he tries to touch their face, and he goes through their face, and that's the part that scared him.
I mean, that's pretty creepy.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. It was just the fact that he's like, I was okay with them being faceless and biting me and naked, but then I went through their face, and I'm not okay with that part. Oh no, just it amused me. We'll just go with that. I was like, all right, like, I get it. I don't know. It's cool. I do like the idea that they're talking to you, the reader, and you do get introduced to all the characters, and it was cool. It just felt like very much of. I'm assuming the vertical jam is very much like, here, look at different stuff that we're doing in Vertigo, so buy our books.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Free Comic Book Day today, where it's just like, hey, here's like a 12-page, half story that we did for 2 books. Here's what Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are up to, or whatever.
Yeah, just a teaser to hopefully get you into the series.
Which again, it's a weird time to do that because we're like, all right, we're like 57 issues in, and we're also winding down our big story. So jump in.
Yeah, but like it's a good. These are the people that you're gonna see in this book. Like you're gonna see Lucian, you're gonna see Merv, you're gonna see Nuala, you're gonna see Matthew. Cain and Abel are gonna play a part, and of course Morpheus, biggest saddest goth of all.
Yeah, but it doesn't have like it was about 5 years later that Marvel started having like little fold out covers where they would have like a little like here's the characters that are going to be in this book. And, it would be helpful for like Zelda or Hal or other characters where you're like, remember them from like 45 issues ago. They're back.
Absolutely not. Like when they first saw Rose Walker, I'm like, who is Rose again? I was like, oh yeah, her.
Again, Rose is kind of an important one, but I'm like the spider lady who lived in the same house with Rose.
Oh, that was the one that has AIDS, right?
She's the one who dies.
Okay. I sort of remember, but there were a lot of things where I'm like, am I supposed to know who these people are? Like, I don't remember. It's been 4 years. There is part of me that wants to one day sit down once they finish all the Sandman with my whole physical and just read all of them at one time. There's not a whole lot to Vertical Jam. I didn't mind it.
No, yeah, it's pretty, inconsequential. It doesn't really have anything to do with like the main story.
No.
I mean, I guess it sort of does because we do find out that there's been like a regular dream visitor who keeps showing up, and we find out who that is.
We did?
Yeah, it's Daniel.
Oh. Wow. Apparently someone didn't do their homework very well who read the book.
But
I didn't catch that.
After the castle, we jump into the actual technically, with part one of the kind.
This confused me a bit. Like, I knew what they were referencing immediately when I saw the three women cutting strings. Like, because I know Greek mythology. Like, I knew exactly what they're talking about immediately, even though they don't say who they are.
No, but they look like the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Like, if you know anything about a triple goddess in any culture, you're like, oh, I bet. And this is just, they're kind of fun. Like, I dig them. They're amusing. They have their place, but ultimately they're not really good, but they're not really bad. They just are, you know?
I don't like them ever. And I don't like them in anything. I don't like them in the Hercules, Disney cartoon. I just don't like them.
Okay, so you don't like the idea that you don't have free will and you're actually predestined to do things. Okay. No,
I actually believe to a degree, but I don't know. I just don't like these characters. I have no problem with what they're doing. Like, I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. It was just something that I realized as I was reading this. I just don't like the Fury.
Interesting.
So, well, but no, the predestined thing, like, that doesn't bother me. Like, I do believe that to a degree that, yes, we have choices in certain matter, but there are certain things that are going to happen to said people, I think, no matter what they did. Like if you didn't get hit by let's say here, there was a big car crash on, in front of you and the logs hit everyone else and you survived, like, you're still going to die. I do believe stuff like that.
Okay.
I've actually seen that movie, Ken, if you can believe that.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised. Final Destination 2 does not seem like your cup of tea, but...
Younger Mike. That was high school Mike. When Mike was edgy, like, I'm going to watch horror movies.
Yeah, current Mike's going to get back to it. Mark my words.
I don't know. I'm just not... I think they work for here. Like, I like the idea of what they do, but I don't know. I don't like them.
Fair enough. And the art style for this book is a little weird, too.
Yeah.
Like, throughout this entire volume, it's a little weird.
Yeah. And it's also like, there's the three, the weird sisters, whatever you want to call them, the crone, the maid, and the mother. But then there's also the Gorgons. So you're like, all right, three other women.
Okay, so that wasn't the same characters.
No.
Okay, I was like, at first I thought they were the same characters until I was rereading this book, and I'm like, wait, those are different people? Like, what the fuck's going on here?
And to be fair, there's only two of those. They lost the third one.
Right. Yeah, the third one is Medusa. But this is also very Greek mythology. Like, this is, you have to kind of look through either your, intro to Greek mythology or your Wikipedia page for, like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm. And don't worry, if Greek mythology is not your thing, we got Norse mythology too in this one. We have Christian mythology in this one. We got a little bit of everything. So
Greek mythology is my thing a lot. I really like Greek stuff, and Hercules and Xena were my thing when I was a child. We'll get to it. There's a rare error by Neil Gaiman. No Wikipedia for him. He literally just gets a name wrong. Completely whiffs on something, but we'll get to it whenever. Okay. And then this is when you first get introduced to... God, I remembered this. This woman is from Dollhouse, right? Hippolyta, whatever her name is.
Lyda Hall.
Lyda Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, she's been in a lot.
It's been a while.
So... I'm sure we talked about this way back when, but so this character was a DC Comics character in the original pre-Crisis DC Comics. She was the daughter, Hippolyta was the daughter of Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And Mary and Hall is her, her husband's name. But that's where that came from. And then later it was sort of retconned to she was trained by the Golden Age Wonder Woman who was named Hippolyta. She's also named Hippolyta. And so it's already a confusing mess. But yes, and then she's married to the Sandman, who, as we found out in that way back when, is a character who's already dead.
Yeah.
And that was the dead guy that impregnates her in the dream.
Right. And that's why Morpheus is like, this baby is like special to me because it was conceived in my world, basically. It's not really real.
Yeah. It's kind of skirting that line.
I vaguely remembered it, but I also remember the Sandman live action show where it's like he's a ghost that's having sex with her. probably his name, but
Ghosts,
it's all
dreams.
it's
I mean, yeah, it's not that different. He is kind of a ghost in the comic. It's just unclear.
I had issues with her. One, the art style took me a little bit to get used to in this book. I wasn't fully on board with the art because the art had changed a lot from what we had previously, and I didn't like it at first.
The heavy lines on this really remind me of like Jonan Vasquez, who did like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Invader Zim. Like the way the faces look, it very much reminded me of that, and I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, it's cartooning. It's not, kind of the style of art. It's not Sam Keith, this isn't sort of the expressionistic weird forms. Like it looks more like something you would see on Cartoon Network in 2005.
Oh, that's fair. The time that I hate. I can't watch a lot of those shows. Like, I don't like that style.
But it is, I mean, it's very stylized and very sort of, I mean, it's not quite like a French style, but it is more of a like European stylized, cartooning. And I get it's not everybody's cup of tea. I don't love it either.
Yeah, but like it's fine.
I mean, it didn't take away from the book for me because I don't.
I do like that it's consistent, and some of the individual panels are really cool. So it doesn't really bother me because I think some of the, I mean, like I think like Colleen Duran and some of the other who did the Barbie storyline and some other issues like that art I think was probably my favorite. But there's some where I'm like, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on because no one's faces look the same. So you don't have that problem. But yeah, I understand. It's not, some people just don't like this.
I think it's just more as the crazier she gets, I'm assuming maybe she's not. Oh, we'll get there. But like, I think that's when it got to me because there's so much things happening. I was confused. That's some of my questions as we go farther. What's really going on? Like, I didn't understand it. When I reread it the second time, it started to make more sense. This is the kind of book where you have to read it more than once to understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't completely understand. I did like the old guy that they talked to when she's hanging out with the babies, or her friend, the roommate, or not roommate, but where the guy's suffering, delirium. I did appreciate that he's just giving out roses and he's kind of, delirious. I'm like, that's a cool take. Would they go with it?
Yeah, she comes on way too hard in this story. Like her yelling at Daniel for tracking sand into the bed, just like that. I was like, ooh, I don't like why you got worse.
Yeah.
I mean, she is, it's from the beginning, she is like on her very last, whatever string of sanity or whatever you want to call it, whatever metaphor. She is just like right on the edge from the beginning where you're like, you are not well. Like you need a full night's sleep. You need like a 3-day weekend or something. Like she doesn't have a job. Or I guess she's talking about this guy about a job, but it's just like, I don't know why. She's clearly not in a good mental health state at the start of this. And then her child is immediately abducted. So not helpful.
Yeah.
No, that I think maybe this was a movie I was watching recently, but I kept thinking, that guy her pimp? Is that what's going on? But that's because of movies. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I really like, I want to say, Ken, you made a comment years ago about Merv, because I'm like, Merv is dumb, and you're like, you're going to like Merv, and you see Merv a lot in this book, and I came to like him.
Yeah, Merv's fun. Like, I do like that. God, who plays him in the show? It was somebody.
It's been a while.
But it was, like, perfect.
You do have some cool parts, like you see the Corinthian being remade. I did like all that with the Sandman doing. Oh, and then also in the first issue, because the club that Lita goes to is the same club that the devil is at, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because you see the mask. I didn't really remember all of that either because it's been so damn long. I didn't realize that was the devil until later.
Mark Hamill is Merv in the show.
Okay.
The Joker.
Good actor.
Great actor.
Yeah.
And Merv's just he feels things a little deeper than most of the dreaming. I like him.
This one shows more that they were all real people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I think you always kind of know that or it's hinted at, but this book really tells you, like, these are all people that died.
Right. Well, I mean,
came here.
Matthew was, I read him being killed in Swamp Thing. He was an alcoholic who died as part of a larger plot by Arcane. So, and then Arcane possessed his body. It was very creepy.
Boo! All the homies hate Anton Arcane.
to sleep with his niece in the body of her husband. Don't like that.
Yep.
You want to read that Swamp Thing run, though.
He's a bad guy, I gotta tell you.
He's a horrible person.
We're more likely going to read that when we're done.
Yeah, that's part of Loki brings it up. Well, spoiler alert, I guess. But he's like, being killed by a god is sort of the kind of thing that gets you put in a story. Where you end up outside of just your life just ending, where you can end up in one of these other realms where that's kind of what he's trying to avoid. I will say, so I know we're not going to go through the entire thing, but it is funny. The next issue after the baby disappears, Loki and Puck show up, and Loki's disguise is so bad.
Oh my God, it's horrible. And
he's like, "Hello, my name is Mr. Pinkerton."
I did not realize that was them until way later. Until they tell you.
Yeah, it is funny, even if you don't know exactly who it is, later when they talk to Rose and they're like, did those two detectives talk to you? And she's like, no. And they're like, one had red hair and one was like a little guy. And you're like, oh, okay, I think I know who these might be.
I get it now.
I did not put that together until the book told me. Because this one ends with her running, because she has, all of a sudden she starts thinking something's wrong with Daniel. And that's where that ends.
Right. Yeah. That's the end of that part one. And then, part two is the fake detectives show up. Puck and Loki.
I did not, just their names, the fact, my name's Pinkerton. And I'm thinking to myself, the Pinkerton gang?
It's such an obvious fake name.
Doesn't he even say something about the Pinkertons? They don't exist in this era.
Hello, my name is Police Officer McCopson.
And Gordy Fellows as.
I mean, they are obvious, not real names. I did not realize that it was Loki and Puck. I also don't understand why were they even stealing the baby in the first place.
Yeah, who are they working for?
I honestly still don't really know what happened, and I read this whole book, so.
Well, part of it is Loki. I mean, he is mad at Dream.
Yeah,
that's part of it. So he is, he feels like he is beholden to him, which he does not like. As we find out, I guess in chapter 3, or it's later, that he tells the Hippolyta's friend or Lyta's friend about it. But anyway, we don't want to skip ahead of that.
Okay, another question. When you have in part 2, that's when you see the stupid fairy from World's End, Nula's brother. What was up with the whole thing with the stag, where he releases the stag? I didn't understand any of what I was looking at. Does that make any sense?
Okay.
Pretty gross, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross, but he's in the dreaming, and he's, created his own, the end. He's created the thing that'll kill him.
Oh, that's what, okay.
Yeah. And Nuala's pissed.
I didn't understand what was happening. They're like, you shouldn't have went off the beaten path and this, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So
it's interesting because if you look up Wild Heart, you get a lot of literary instances of white deers. And remember white deers because that is a tool that will help us later in the episode.
Put a pin in it. Okay. I wasn't really sure what was going on. You do have a scene here where Lyta goes, where she's dreamy, but then ends up running into the Furies. I knew that wasn't fake. She wasn't dreaming, actually.
Yeah.
But Lyta's stuff is so fucking weird, and I didn't understand it.
Well, because Lyta's going insane.
Oh, so that's why the reader was being confused, too?
Probably, honestly. It's not very sensical. I mean, you look at those stairs that she takes down. They are the stairs out of a German expressionist silent film. They are all raw angles and absolute insanity.
Yeah. But why is she's going insane because her son was kidnapped, essentially?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Daniel's pretty much her last tether to reality after everything she's gone through, which has been a lot.
She's pretty much lost it during this. So.
Yes, very much so. But she's also she is, having these dream visions where, she's going and meeting with the Fates and, kind of finding out what's going on. And then later goes even crazier and starts seeing, it reminds me of Neverwhere or other Neil Gaiman stuff where she is basically seeing into the mythical of her everyday world where she sees like a one-eyed monster, and it's literally just like the crosswalk button, where she's like fully lost her mind.
I was wondering about though. I was wondering if she was really like in a different dimension or she was just going insane.
Oh yeah, she's lost. Like she's not like the plane of consciousness of like knowing what things are anymore.
Okay. It didn't really convey that to me. I wasn't really sure what was happening. I was just confused. But okay.
And she heard that her son's going into the fire. Like that'll mess you up.
Oh, I forgot they do say that there, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that will mess you up. Okay.
And she also thinks Dream is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Why does she think he's doing it?
Because
he said he would take the kid, right?
Yeah, he said that he named the kid, and then he said basically that like this kid is one day I'm gonna come, and like lay a claim basically on this child, and so she takes that as like he's murdered my child.
I mean, that's fair. I feel like that is a fair statement to have.
I mean, I guess, yeah. It's again, she's not in her right mind, so
no. But then again, she also intimately knows Dream and a lot of these other people. So, like, who would be in their right mind after all this?
I forgot she was aware of a lot of things, wasn't she, back in Dollhouse?
And Doll's House and, what was it, Game of You? She in Game of You?
it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, she was living with Barbie, I think.
I have no memory of anything, so I can't.
I was gonna say we get more characters from from Barbie's flat later, and also the Rose Walker, right?
Yeah,
she gets introduced later. First, we have Hob Gadling shows up again.
That was cool to see.
Yeah, which he is kind of warns Dream that he smells like death.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of rude to bring up somebody's smell, but whatever.
Hey, that doesn't stop people.
Yeah.
Okay, I was also confused. Another thing confused me in this issue is why did Clurakin, whatever his name is, the fairy, come to take Nuala back? Was there any reason why he did that?
He wasn't there officially because of Titania.
Okay, that's why I didn't think he was.
But unofficially, kind of.
But it's also just kind of like, hey, we made a show of doing this. Are you done with this person? Can we have her back? I mean, I think that's kind of as much as any. It's not directly, it's not being. I mean, I guess to the same extent that the fates are controlling everything, it is. But it's them, the fairy, saying like, okay, it's been long enough. Like it's been 3 years. She's not going to be here forever, is she?
Yeah, and like, okay, but what is 3 years to the fairy?
Nothing, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
They don't really they don't age.
Yeah.
That's how I take it.
Yeah, but
Okay. And then this is where he makes one of his fatal errors, where he gives her the boon that she can, on the pendant, where she can call him at any time.
Right.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Right. Which that's my quote. Thusly says you care too much about other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we also Officer Loki shows up and is like, "Hey, we don't have to come inside. Can I just show you some burned up photos of what I presume is your child?"
Oh, that was fucking weird. But
Yeah,
also
just
like
literally sending her off the deep end, like not even trying to be cops at this point.
I thought I was like, what the fuck is going on? Also, that scene, I was very confused because when part 3 starts, you also have the scene of where you have Loki and Puck, which I didn't know this was Loki or Puck when they're burning the baby. Like, I was really confused what the fuck was happening.
I don't know how you didn't recognize our boy Robin Goodfellow right away.
I didn't at all. It wasn't until you guys said something that everything. Can you remember who the fuck Robin Goodfellow was? Was that in
the Midsummer Night's Dream?
Oh,
yeah, that's just another name. Yeah, from Midsummer.
It's just
okay.
It's another name for Puck.
Okay, yeah.
And again, Gordy Fellows, Robin Goodfellow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, none of that clicked, by the way. Barely clicked now. So, all right. And then this is when you have Hob. I did like seeing Hob, and I did like where there's a comment where Dream was like, well, I can make you dream of her every single night, but you won't thank me for it.
Yeah, it is funny. Like, I think a few years, it's not that far after this, but one of my very favorite Astro City stories is it's an issue. It's actually like a half issue that was in a Wizard magazine of all things, but it's in the first trade of Astro City. And it's a guy every night has a nightmare about a woman who he like remembers everything about. And like no one can explain it. And he finally meets the like Doctor Strange or Doctor Fate of his world. And he's like, yeah, man, we had like a big epic fight or whatever. And the history of the world was changed, and your wife never existed, but you still have dreams of her. So like all I can do is basically, you can either keep dreaming about her or I can cure it so you won't remember her at all. And so it is like Hippolyta's in a similar boat, because it's like the Crisis on Infinite Earths changed her character, and then to where it's like now her child is from a guy who's already dead, and you're just like, what? That doesn't even make sense. So, this is, another, he is being offered like, hey, I could make you remember this more, or I could make you forget. And that's really all I could do. And he's like, well, could you at least make the guy who killed her understand that what he did was really shitty? And he's like,
he does.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So another question that I had for you guys is like, you have a small scene here where, God, what the hell is it? Her Desire. I could not think of the name all of a sudden. Desire taking the heart out. Because Desire is essentially the one that orchestrated all this, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then it's cool to see Destiny again. I always enjoy seeing the other Are they not Eternals? What are they called again? Endless?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, Eternals, wrong thing.
Yeah. The Eternals are the ones that fight the space aliens.
Also based in Greek mythology.
Based more on chariots of the gods and the idea of ancient aliens.
Yeah.
I did enjoy seeing Delirium again, though. You only get a little bit of her at the moment, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, her subplot is probably the least like important to the overall structure, but it is fun. Basically, she's like, I miss that dog I had.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I did like that. I don't know, because it was a throwback that I really liked. What was that, a Game of You?
I thought that was
been a while
later. I don't remember.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
That's the problem with covering these so far in between.
I know. I agree.
And who's got the time to read the entire run before we start a new episode? I don't.
No, it wasn't that, and that's fine. I was really nice seeing Hob again, and like you are right when Hob does make that comment, like.
And as Dream is fading out after talking to Hob, I like that he has the tiniest trace of a smile when Hob tells him to take care of himself. Like it's so nice that this is like the one friendship that Dream has that isn't family.
He doesn't see him again, does he?
Nope.
Okay.
And it is later. Death is like, you're so. I forget what she accuses him. What the word is. Kind of accuses him of being sort of Machiavellian and setting things up, and he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Okay, but you understand. You set all of this in motion yourself. Like you didn't have to do all these things." And so I do think there's a little bit of an acknowledgement, like he knows what's coming.
Okay, yeah, because it is all his fault that all this happens.
He killed his son. Like that's the like he killed Orpheus because Orpheus asked him to. But he should understand what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand it, but he does. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think deep down he does. That's why he's already started putting things in motion.
If you live forever, after a while, you're going to be ready to go. I mean, there's a famous song that says, "Who wants to live forever?" So,
I do.
You want to run an antique store, too?
Yeah, I think I'd have fun with that.
God, I love that show. Oh, but... Okay, because it's in this issue when the cops come back, and this is when Lita is just being. I did not like how the art keeps changing, but it makes sense because it's supposed to be her just going insane.
Yeah,
and
it is, and she's losing control. Like her would-be boss came over to see how she's doing. She breaks his arm.
Yeah, I did like that.
Again, she is just like she could be a DC superhero, but she's completely lost her mind.
I forgot that she was a character from that, like from DC.
Yeah.
And then part 4 is when they go to the bar. This is when you see the angel, one of the angels that took over hell, which I completely forgot all of this, by the way.
Yeah.
It had been a while. I had forgot all this had happened. This is when I realized that it's the devil. I think that they're talking to. The devil runs the club.
Yep.
I did like the devil. It was cool seeing him again because we haven't had him in a while, and they do some interesting stuff where the font is all different for when the angel talks and when the devil talks. The font is both different, which was annoying. Yeah. I don't like certain fonts when I'm trying to read a physical book. It bothers me. This is one of them.
I think it's a really good way to indicate what their voice should sound like.
Yeah, it does. It does tell you like just that like, oh, like that. It puts you in that register of like, it's not, he doesn't have a normal voice. He's got that like, oh, Lucifer, I need something. You're just like, all right, enough. Like, stop talking like this.
I appreciate it for what it is. I just don't like it.
I mean, I understand on a first read, it's very annoying. I mean, it's also like, I remember Spider-Man, again, the comics I was reading in 1994, Spider-Man comics, Mary Jane's narration, I'd be like, God, this is hard to read, because it would be like pink or purple, like background, but with cursive, and you're just like, what are you, like...
I hate cursive.
It's just so hard. We're just like, again, like not even the coloring on top of it. You're like, I don't know what you're even trying to convey to me. But anyway, so yes, that subplot is not that important. They basically wanted to warn Lucifer or whatever about the dream stuff, and then they just don't. Like, they're just like, okay, well, whatever.
Oh, that's what was going on?
Yeah, and because he goes back to hell, and it's like, that didn't work. Lucifer just made me really mad, and I wasn't able to do anything.
Okay, they don't really come back, I don't think, right, in this book?
Not really.
Not in this book.
They were just weird that they were... Okay, I'm assuming the next 10. Okay, so this is also when you see Lita walking, and so I was trying to figure out if she was actually seeing these things, or she was just going insane. Like, I thought maybe she's in a different dimension type of thing where she's actually talking to a cat god and a cyclops, not just...
Well, she is. She's slipping out of reality. I mean, that's
okay.
Like,
but I thought maybe like it was like a different world that these things were actually existed.
Yeah, it's in our world. She's just lost her mind and is just like a homeless person that appears to be strung out. But in her world, she's just like seeing, these mythological things. This is again, we're already 38 minutes in, but this is where Gaiman loves Gene Wolfe. This is like such a Gene Wolfe ripoff that it's hard to miss if you've read Gene Wolfe, because Gene Wolfe has a series of stories about a soldier in ancient Greece who gets basically hit on the head, and he sees gods like as he's walking around, and so he'll just see like, oh, this is like the river nymph or whatever that controls this stream, and he'll just talk to them, or he'll see like an aspect of Dionysus like come to life and talk to him, because he is in this because he's been hit in the head. He is able to see the mythological in the everyday. And it's like, that's basically what she's doing here. But to us, she just looks, like I said, like she is strung out on drugs. And you're just like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person who's mumbling to the crosswalk sign.
Okay. That's what this, okay. That makes more sense now. I was just very confused and like, what am I looking at?
I'm also not entirely sure that this isn't also actually happening.
Well, no, it is happening in a sense. I'm just saying it's not happening in our reality. Like, she is slipping into sort of the mythical world where she is experiencing these things in like this way that people might have experienced the world on, peyote 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or whatever, where she's like having direct communion with the gods. But it's also because she's out of her mind.
Okay. They do that a lot. Some of the stuff really fucking confused me, but we'll get there. This is also when you get introduced to Rose Walker for the first time and find out that the girl that was watching her son that passed out was the same woman from Dollhouse, but now is 25 years old instead of I think she was like not even 18 yet back then.
I think she was like 19 or 20, but yes.
Yeah.
She is the Dream Vortex from that storyline, and she's back. They mentioned, they're like, we thought you were a teenager, and she's like, no, I'm like 26 or whatever. And they're like, what? Okay.
And I'm rich.
Yeah, and part of that is after her Dream Vortex powers awakened, she just stopped aging as quickly.
Okay, so that's okay. I was wondering what that meant when they talk about it. I wasn't sure. Okay, you're making this book better, guys. Thank you. So when Lita runs into the Gorgon sisters, is that real? Like, does she actually find them?
So, I mean, it's like, again, she's experiencing the world in a way where she really finds them. But it's like, what did she actually see in the real world? I don't know, like some garbage, it's not like in the physical world, she might not have actually found anything. But in the mythological world she's living in now, she finds the other sisters and they're like, oh my God, you could be our sister Medusa.
Okay. It just, that was an odd one for me. So I was just curious. Okay. There's a small scene which I do like where Morpheus takes the two skulls out from Corinthian out of a chest of other stuff. I did like that. I don't know, just for some reason I really liked that. Simple, but I thought it was really good.
Well, it's the remains essentially of the first Corinthian. The memories, the emotions, the purpose are all contained in that.
Okay.
Like, it's his Corinthian seed.
It was cool to see so many freaking references to Dollhouse, and I appreciate that, because Dollhouse was great.
Yeah, and he's even got that bottle with that demon still in there.
Oh, I vaguely remember that now you mention it.
Yeah, they were trying to get the key to hell, and he got put in the bottle because he's a dick.
I am gonna reread this whole book someday, by the way. Because I want to. I want to sit down one day and just read them outside somewhere in the woods. Take a vacation. Okay, I do like the part when Merv is just talking shit about his boss, and then Morpheus like, and right behind him, that was just great.
Yeah.
All right, then the Corinthian comes back to life, but doesn't have all his memories, and then we get to part 5.
Oh, I didn't want to skip over the Greek mythology that Neil Gaiman got wrong.
Sure, please.
She goes to the apples of the Garden of the Hesperides from Greek mythology, and that's from it's one of the labors of Hercules, and it's one of the things. But anyway, the 3-headed dragon shows up and is like, and she's like, "Are you Satan?" And he's like, "No, I'm Gurion." Wrong. That's Ladon. Gurion is a giant who's from the 10th labor of Hercules. Gurion is a dragon who guards the apples.
I'm assuming you didn't know this, but read it somewhere.
No, yeah, I read it, and I was like, nope, it checks out. Like, it's 2 labors of Hercules back to back. But yeah, Gurion is just a big guy with multiple heads, and then Ladon is specifically the dragon who's in the who's wound around the tree that is protecting the apples. So it's combining these two for really no reason other than to just like, here it is. I guess this is the DC universe. And it's not like this is a DC character. I mean, the crazy thing is one of the Furies that Lyta meets has already appeared in a Wonder Woman comic at this point. Oh. The other one appears in, I think, a Gail Simone comic like 10 years later. But yeah, it is just so funny because they're like, well, you already named one of them in a Wonder Woman comic in like 1990. So here she is.
I like that. Okay.
It is based on Greek mythology, but it's like, well, Greek mythology is also what Wonder Woman is always fighting. So
yeah, that makes sense. You have a couple pages in part 5 where Lita has the snakes in her hair, but that doesn't really ever come back. This is when you see Rose talking to Zelda, and this is not assisted living, by the way. This is a skilled nursing home, it looks like to me, for those that were very interested.
It is. I mean, they say she's like 30, and you're like, uh-oh, that's not good.
No, that's also why you know it's not assisted living. They won't take you if you're under 55, usually. So there's your random facts that nobody else.
Because she is like, her face is so, I mean, her skin is like so withered looking. You're just like, that's not good.
Yeah,
I guess
she does not look good at all.
I'm assuming this is more than just AIDS, right? Or this is just, I mean, this also makes sense because this is the 90s and the AIDS crisis was still was still happening. So it wasn't, and people weren't educated enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would. I think it's a little bit of magic that she looks like she looks.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, because I wouldn't think that just AIDS by itself would make her. But she also, I mean, like, this was the woman that like always wore like a bridal gown and like lived in cemeteries or whatever. Like, she was always a weird character.
Right. And we don't really know what her face looked like a lot because she was always behind the veil.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Okay.
So she could just be really thin and the full-blown AIDS made it worse.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true.
The funny thing is I actually had Dollhouse out not that long ago because my wife has been slowly reading these, and she's still on Dollhouse, and I was like, I should reread that. And then I had to put it back, and I was reading this. I'm like, oh, not far off, so I'm reading some of the stuff. And then you have some pages here with Nuella back at the Fairy Kingdom, and I was very confused about it. Is that, she talks to a goblin, is that Puck, or is that no, that's somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to look here. Oh, this is when this is when her friend goes to the police station and figures out the cops are not real.
Right.
I still don't understand why the fuck. I mean, now I get it why they gave her a picture of a burnt baby, but it's like, yeah, why would you give, like, oh, here, can you identify the burnt remains of this picture? Like, fuck.
Again, they didn't even go into her apartment. They're like, look at this picture through the door. Like, just have a psychotic break and we'll leave.
they also she wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
So like, it's not entirely their fault.
Yeah, but it's just like real cops would have you come to the station.
Yes.
Yeah.
they wouldn't be like, all right, look at it through the keyhole.
What do you think? Is it your baby? All right.
Can you identify the charcoal in this, ma'am? Does it have the father's eyes?
Oh, I forgot the roommate, her friend, or not roommate, but her friend gets murdered.
Yes, by Loki.
First she gets burned by the picture, and then she ends up talking with the cops, the fake cops, and they light the car on fire and burn her up. Okay.
Now, you knew it was Loki when you saw his chin, right?
No. I didn't know until he said it was Loki. See, I don't even remember what happened with Loki or any of that, whatever. I don't remember any of the stuff that went on with him. Like, I do remember, like, him being underneath and have the lizard, or not lizard, but the snake venom. But I don't remember how he got out. I don't remember any of what happened.
Yeah, that was the Keys to Hell story arc where he switched places with somebody else, and then Dream was like, okay, I don't really care that you did that. I'm not going to react.
Miss?
Is that Season to Miss? I think it is.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay. God, it's been so long. I mean, again, if I was reading these when these came out, I mean, this would have been every month, so this still would have been a few years.
Yeah, it would have been a while, a minute, as they say. But yeah, there was Season of Miss that hell was opened.
This brings us to, which is volume 4. Yes, volume 4. This brings us to part 6 of this book. They really make Rose look young in here, too.
This is, I mean, I understand not liking the regular art. This is the art where I'm like, I don't know. This is like getting into, like, this is like sexualizing a character who they're like, oh, she is like 25. Where you're like, yeah, but you've already said that, like, she looks like much younger. I don't know.
Is this when she fucks the lawyer?
It's in this storyline, but it's like when she's, because there's like, even, you know, she mentions like, oh, this like fat guy saw like my underwear, and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I did not care for that.
She meets the kindly ones, and the art is cool in this part where it's all.
Oh, I did not put 2 and 2 together that those were the fairies she's talking to at the nursing home, wherever she's at.
Yeah, it's the same ones.
Okay, so when they tell the whole tale, that I do like how everything changed and goes from a comic book to essentially like a novel almost. I did like that.
It's like a George and the Dragon style, like illustrated, you know, pictures on every page, but with a bunch of text. I
don't think I put 2 and 2 together that these were the Furies. I also didn't get this far on my reread. Where is she at again? Because she's looking for...
This is, where her mom was, or her grandmother was, whenever she was under, like, the sleeping spell or whatever, where she was... she would have been the Dream Vortex, but for, like, 60 years, she was just sleeping.
Because Dream was imprisoned, so...
And it's also, I mean, we meet the guy that, from Volume 1, who is now, he's been stuck dreaming since Dream, like, punished him as his father trapped him.
Yep.
My God, I did not put 2 and 2 together. Thank you, Chris. Damn. Okay, none of that clicked with me, by the way.
It is, like, it's funny that this one place in London, this is where we have our long-term sleeping section.
I mean, I can buy it.
People who've been sleeping for, like, more than 10 years, but otherwise aren't in, like, a coma or anything.
I could buy it. It's a very weird disease, and, you know, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's not this issue when she sleeps with him, but I did not realize how... I think I didn't know... Maybe I didn't realize she was 25 or didn't click, but God, they make her look young in here. Like...
Yeah. In this issue in particular, like I said, I was like, this is getting a little weird that you're like, oh, I am this old. I just look much, much younger. You're like, okay, great.
It is the 90s, so certain things just didn't...
But speaking of looking much younger than you are, we got another returning character in part 7.
So, okay, I was pretty sure this was the same woman, but I can't from the Barbie art.
Yes, this is Thessaly from the one who killed the cuckoo and did all that and caused the house to explode and everything because she summoned the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fucking weird book, by the way.
Yeah.
So why does she take Lita anyway?
She knows what's going on, and she wants to protect Lita because she thinks, the Dream is like, well, I can cut this off at the source and like either take Lyda back to my world or kill her. Probably just take her back to her world because Dream is not really one for killing.
No.
But she's like, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to make sure that this, plays out.
Okay. I was really confused what her motive was and what her purpose was.
Well, that's the thing about Thessaly. She doesn't really tell you what her motive is at all. Like you just see her show up, and we find out pretty quickly what she wants, which is to get Lyda away from like homeless people. But we don't really know why. And at the end, she does not make it seem like she's a friend of Lyda's. So you're just like, okay, well, why did you do these things?
Yeah, that's all I just do.
She's one of Dream's former lovers, so there's already some complicated feelings there.
Right. And
I forgot that.
She has already made a deal with at least one of the aspects of the Kindly Ones to like have a longer life. So she's already either, I don't know if she directly communicates with them or just knows what they're doing. But, she mentions that because she's from ancient Greece. She's, like 2,000 years old.
Okay. I remembered bits and pieces of her when we read her, but not a whole lot.
I don't like Thessaly. I've never liked Thessaly. I'm never going to like Thessaly.
I do. I think she's not a character that you are like, oh, I like this character, but it is very effective. Like the scene, is it in the next chapter where she just kills that goat and then she's like gets so annoyed at the goat when it hits her in the head and draws blood.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, all right, well, I was going to sacrifice you anyway.
Now I really want to.
Now it's going to be fun.
Okay, and then why did Odin show up in here? Because Odin shows up to the dream to talk to Morpheus, and I was confused why he's here, but I guess because Loki.
Right, Odin's showing up because Dream didn't narc on Loki way back in Season of Mists when he found out that Loki had... Because that was the thing, was they're like, we're giving Loki like a weekend off from his eternal torture. And then he didn't go back, and Dream knew he didn't go back, but he didn't tell Odin about it. So okay. Odin's like, hey, like, why didn't you do this? But then at the end of it is like, okay, Loki probably tricked you, because that's what he does.
Okay. I was a little confused. And then you have a small part with Delirium is talking to Destiny in Destiny's garden. Another hint of what's to come where you see Dream's statue is crying.
I do like the discussion statue has his back turned. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah. Love it.
That was a good fucking arc.
Yeah. And I love later when Death is like, you didn't have to do all this. You could have just quit if you wanted to quit. And he's like, no, I couldn't. Like, that's just not who Dream is. Like, he takes his responsibility so seriously. He takes everything so seriously that he couldn't just walk away. He had to be like, no, I did all these things kind of knowing what would happen, but also thinking like, yeah, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, it's his choice. And these are his decisions that got what he felt he deserved at the end of it. So maudlin.
Okay. What is the point of the spell that is it Thessaly's?
Yeah.
Where she's like painting on Lita and like puts the blood around her. Like, I didn't understand what everything was going on with that.
She makes a circle of protection so that Dream can't physically move Lyta into another realm or do anything to her.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, because Lyta's physical form is not what's doing this. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Dream Vortex stuff, where it's like her being in the fact that she's kind of fully transitioned into like crazy world where, her snakes have grown out of her hair, which I think we mentioned earlier, but we haven't really explained. Like, the other Furies are like, you're our sister, the one who died. Like, you could be our sister. And she's like, I'm not. And they're like, but you could be. And then she starts growing, snakes. And so then she's like, oh, I guess maybe I am. So, Dream is like, oh, I could do something about this by affecting, kind of waking her up out of this and talking to her maybe. But no, Thessaly's not going to let him do that.
Nope, because she's the worst. But this is also where Lyta kind of goes into a deeper dream world now that she's within the protection circle. And she confronts a lot of different aspects of herself, which is interesting.
I was very confused by what was happening with Lyta. But
we do see her superhero costume.
Yep.
Oh, is that the Scarlet Witch looking thingy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I know it's not a Scarlet Witch reference because we're not reading Marvel books, but okay. That's cool. I was wondering why that was there for.
And then in the deeper world, this is where she finally gets to the kindly ones, as they prefer to be called.
Okay, so that's okay when they have the scorpions and everything. Because essentially, the kindly one just needs someone to set them against Dream.
Well, she's looking for revenge for Daniel because she thinks Dreams killed Daniel. And the kindly ones check the threat, essentially, the scorpions. And they find out, well, he didn't kill that one, but that one's not his son anyway. But he did kill his own son, and we kind of missed that.
Oh, okay, that's what's happening there. All right.
I do love that as like a last page reveal where she's like, sorry I wasted your time. And they're like, actually, he did kill his own son.
And this is also interspersed in this. You also have Matthew and the Corinthian on the hunt for Daniel.
Because Dream knows something is up, correct? At this point?
Dream sends them to look for Daniel because he's almost 100% sure that something's very, very wrong. And that it's probably Loki involved.
Okay. And this brings us to part 8. I have no idea what's happening in these first few pages. With the different art style again.
Oh.
I don't understand what I'm looking at. But, okay, you have more Odin, or maybe he's just like talking about when Odin was visiting. Delirium shows up to the dream world because she's looking for the dog. I love how often Delirium changes when they draw her. I think that's such a cool concept. Oh, and this is when Rose. Okay, it's this arc or this story when Rose, or this book when Rose sleeps with the guy. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but more importantly, like before we jump to Rose doing her thing, like Morpheus is setting his affairs in order. Like he's going around checking on his staff. He's talking to all the people. He's checking out the ghosts. He's like going to all of his mortal properties.
I did not catch that at the first. And I didn't read. I stopped reading before I got to this part of my second reading.
He goes to feed the pigeons by himself. He goes to watch a performance of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh. Okay, none of this clicked, by the way, in my first reading, even though I knew what was coming.
Yeah, like this is basically Dream setting his affairs in order.
Okay, because he knows the Furies are going to kill him.
I don't think at this point he does.
I think on some level he does, even if he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen.
But he's almost like going through this unconsciously. It's what it seems like, at least. Like he's just going through his office and he's taking more time to do the things that he normally wouldn't do.
Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, this is another book you really need to reread.
And then Delirium shows up, still looking for the dog. But
she's really growing on me.
She's great.
When we first got to her, I don't think I liked her at first, but she's really grown on me as the book continues.
And she kind of rips into Dream for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he deserves it sometimes.
He has deserved it a lot of times.
So Delirium's good. She's a good character.
And
he does a great job of writing her.
One thing that we did skip over that I thought was interesting was back in the last chapter after Delirium talked to Destiny in the garden. And she wondered what she should do. And there were 2 destinies that each told her to take a different action. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that just means no matter what you do, it's going to end up the same.
Well, that's fair.
Because
I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense too.
Yeah, like Destiny doesn't go off book. And for him to say 2 different things can only, to me, that means nothing's going to change. Nothing you can do can actually help.
Fate is going to happen the way fate is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what everybody is telling everybody, like this whole storyline.
Yeah.
It fits too. There's a good scene here where when they go to the morgue, the Corinthian and Matthew, and he takes the eyes to see what the burned body last saw. I do like that, and eats the eyes. Oh, that was chilling, but good.
Yeah, that's a very cool scene. Yeah, that he's just like, people used to, have superstitions about this. And Matthew's like, yeah, but they're not true. And he's like, actually, I can do it.
And this is where Rose has sex with somebody.
I don't know what it was. I think I just like it in fiction, probably real life too, when women are taking charge of sex, stuff like that. And especially in fiction, I just really appreciate it. There's reasons for it, but like it's just something. I think that's why this stuck with me too. Where she's like, "Okay, well, I'm in room 311 if you change your mind," and just walks off, kisses him and walks off. I don't know. I like that idea.
Fair enough.
So, and then when you get to a part that really made me sad, when you go back to the dream world, and throughout the series, we've been seeing the 3 guardians of the dream world: the dragon, the Pegasus, and the Griffin. I think it's a Griffin, right?
Yeah.
And the Griffin gets murdered in this by the Furies.
Yep.
That was sad to me. Like, I've come to really like those characters, and it made me sad to see them murdered like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it bothered me.
Yeah, get used to it.
I know. Oh, I know. I read more in this book, so I saw what's coming.
The interesting thing, though, is that, the Furies are going to Dream, and when they get to his door, Dream says, "Come in, Lyta Hall." So there's some aspect of her with them.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting.
No, that is. I didn't even catch that.
And this is where they tell Morpheus essentially, "Hey, bud, you fucked up, and we're here to get the check." And they're going to destroy everything.
And they say, "We're not Lyta Hall."
Is this when you're starting to really realize that what's really happening?
Yep. This is where he knows 100% what's going on. And this is also where he says, "This is my world. I control it. I'm responsible for it. You will neither destroy it or destroy me." And they're like, "Yeah, how about that griffin, buddy?"
They did kill it, so...
Which is honestly great.
Yeah. It is a really good, powerful scene. And I was very appreciative of it.
Then we're checking in with the strangest buddy cop movie ever. Matthew and the Corinthian again.
It works, though.
I want a whole spin-off with them.
It is fun.
I was surprised how much it works. I know at some point in this book is when Matthew's asking about the other Raven before him, and that's okay. And that's when they make a comment like, "Oh yeah, Lucian was one of them."
Yep, Lucian was the first.
I thought that was good.
And then we just get kind of, wrapping up, Nuala's and Fairy, Thessaly's being Thessaly, Lucifer and Mazikeen are hanging out in the nightclub. And then Rose finds out that Jack's kind of a shit.
Kinda shit. I do like that. She's like, "Hello," and he's like, "These are the bad times. Like something you should have told me about." Yup. And she's like, "Fuck." It's just like that.
Yeah, it's grumpy.
It's so good, though.
We end with the first funeral that the Dreaming has.
Oh, for the Griffin.
Yep. And it ain't going to be the last one. Part 9.
Okay. And again, they make Rose look so young again. Like, she looked older in the last issue, which is good because what they put the character through. And then here, like, okay, let's, she's young, remember?
Mm-hmm.
At least they didn't do it young while she's having sex. So I'll give them, I'll take that at least.
And then she goes and meets up with, what the hell's his name? McGuire.
That's the guy that has to do with the one that was murdered in the first book, correct? Or not murdered, but put to sleep forever.
The hell is it? Paul McGuire. That's his name.
Okay.
Yep. And he is the lover of Alex Burgess, whose father, Roderick Burgess, is the one who imprisoned Dream.
Okay. God, that's a good book.
Yep. So he's taking her on a tour of the grounds, and they show off the library, Roderick's library.
This is where Dream was held, right?
Yep, down in the basement.
Okay, you see, none of this clicked the time I read this until literally just now as we're talking.
And this is where you see Desire show up for the first time in a minute.
Yeah, you haven't had Desire all this book, except for the one scene, one page of Desire, where they took down the heart. I do like how Rose doesn't really know what's happening, like if this is real or not with Desire.
Yeah, and this is where you find out Desire is Rose's grandparent.
Oh, I forgot about that. Because Rose Desire impregnated. Okay, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, while her grandmother was in her sleeping whatever, that's when she had Rose's mother because of Desire. And remember, there was we saw Desire in the dollhouse, the actual dollhouse in the room as a hint, back to kind of set up that this is. So we should know this. I know this is news.
Yeah. It is news to me, even though I vaguely remember Ken or one of you making a comment you see who's in the window, that's going to come back. You were right. 3 years later, it came back.
Oh, God.
Hey, I think doing 3 of these a year is more than what it would have been had I been reading these when they came out.
Fair enough.
I'll take that at least. That's my consolation prize.
But this is where Rose starts on how much she hates love and gets her heart back.
Oh, that... Okay, so that was more than just irony, huh?
Yeah, that's the thing that, literally got her because the neighbor who is now dead told her, hey, I had a dream and your grandmother told me that your heart was back in London or in England.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No.
So now Rose can love again.
Now she can make room on the damn door for Jack.
Dang.
Ah,
Man, I didn't even think about that. We do got a Rose and Jack in this.
we have a Jack?
Yeah, that's the lawyer's name.
Oh.
Jack Holdaway.
Ah! The hadn't come out yet, though.
Yeah, no.
That's what
Weird,
the
huh?
hilarious.
Very weird.
Very funny.
And then we got the tail end of the Corinthian and Matthew's European vacation, where they show up to this cabin and find Dream is waiting for him already, but not really.
Okay, this was cool. That Corinthian was like, wait a second. Corinthian can fight too.
Oh yeah, I love the Corinthian. He's still one of my favorite characters.
And him and Matthew beat the shit out of Loki.
Yup.
So pretty good. Okay, this is when you see the Furies just start killing everyone in the dream.
Yeah.
I do love that, like, the panel to panel, like, there's a lot of first person perspective, but the one where it's just low key transforming every literally 6 panels where he's a different guy every time. Like, that's a good page of comics. And then at the end where he's like, I'll give you a ring. I'll give you a it'll detect treasures. It'll let you detect thoughts. It'll cast guidance. It'll give you fireball. Like, he's just like, giving various spells that he can give for free. And you're like, no, not interested.
And then he does the creepiest thing. Have you never wondered, little bird, what it must be like to see the world through the eyes of a god? And you know what he's about to do. Oh.
Yeah, I did know. I was like, oh, no.
I love it so much. I still think the world lost out by not getting Collateral era Tom Cruise to play the Corinthian.
Were we supposed to at one point?
No,
Well,
that's
no.
always been my dream casting, though.
Yeah, I do think, the original Corinthian is I think there's a little bit of Tom Cruise in that design.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Collateral, the Jamie Foxx movie you're talking about, right?
But, like, it would be more like Cocktail Risky Business, like early Tom Cruise from, the whenever he first shows up in, 1989 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think brutal hitman Tom Cruise could have played this role really well. Or let's add Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is great. I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, he does do some great work. He does a bit nutty, but that's okay.
But then you get the Furies going through and figuring out, all right, who we killing?
Yeah, they kill Fiddler's Green. Who else do they kill?
Man, that's so bogus, man.
Why are they gonna kill Fiddler's Green?
No, they don't. That's booty. You leave Gilbert alone.
Yeah, I do like that they see Kane and they're like, should we attack Kane? And they're like, no, for some reason we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Not really explaining.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, Kane explains the reason later, which is just like the mark of Kane actually also protects me.
Mm-hmm. Like
Okay.
he can't be hurt. He can't die.
But they kill Abel, don't they, in this?
Yeah, but
Abel
Abel
didn't have the mark of Cain.
Yeah, Abel gets
Okay.
killed by his brother like every issue.
Yeah, but in this one he doesn't come back, right? Is
Right,
what it
but that's
seems
the
like?
thing. Like that's
Okay.
he's not protected.
Okay, this is when Morpheus ends up going back to go move Lita's body and finds out that she put the spell around it.
Right.
Yep.
So she didn't want him to die, correct? Like that wasn't her purpose? Because in the end of this, I'm skipping ahead, but I have a question, and I don't want to wait. When things happen to Morpheus, she's like, I'm also after you. You better run, Lita, because I'm also after you, too. Like,
It's
Didn't
one of those
she-
things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know how sometimes you do stuff and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like you do things in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
passionate, emotional, and then you're like, ooh, I went too far. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I always...
she's like, I'm not gonna let you get out of it, like weasel out of this, but I'm also not on her side.
And there's one line I always quote from one of my favorite books, Wheel of Time. I mean, I know some other stuff too, but hell has no fear like a woman scorned. So, I mean,
Not-
and
not-
when you find out she's an ex-lover, that makes sense.
Not original to Wheel of
I know,
Time.
but
Yeah, that
that's where
goes
I
way back.
first saw it.
But yeah, she is mad at Dream, but she also doesn't, when Dream ends up dying, she's not happy about it.
No.
She has complicated emotions. But again, Dream and everyone else is saying, like, everyone makes their own choices. And she's basically saying like, you guys have to decide this. I'm not going to let you, it's the classic, film issue of why doesn't anyone just pick up a phone and explain everything? She's not going to let them do that. You have to see this through. You have to decide whether you're going to go through and with what the outcomes are going to be. And then she'll be mad probably either way.
Okay. In the very end of this issue, after we see Loki with no eyes, Corinthian pulls down Daniel, who's like floating on a string, which confused me too, because wasn't Daniel burned? But I guess
he seems to be, but he's also, he had like phoenix feathers and he's magical. So
and who told her that the baby was burned?
Loki.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. Before we get to the end,
I do love the framing of Corinthian with the sunglasses with the flames behind him and everything, where Loki's like, "Kill me," and he's like, "Nope."
It's good.
It is interesting though, because we get after going back to Dream and Thessaly, he leaves, blows out the windows because he's a little bitch. But you also, if you look, one of those things, you got a piece of glass that is breaking the circle, which is just how he got let out, because Alex's wheelchair broke the circle.
Oh.
So at this point, Dream theoretically could do something if he hadn't just left.
Right. And he says it too. He's like, I can't directly do anything, but there's other things I could do. And she's like, yeah, but you're not going to do them.
Because you a bitch.
Okay.
Because it's like, yeah, he's one of the Endless. If he really wanted to, he could, make the guy upstairs have a dream where, he's reenacting, he has to kill Hitler, and Hitler is in Lyta's body, and he has to sleep over. Like, he could do that, he's Dream of the Endless, but it's like, clearly that's not in the spirit of the rules.
I mean, I could see the old Morpheus doing it before this all happens.
Right.
But not current Morpheus.
Right.
Because he's a fucking asshole in the first book. First couple books. Like,
yeah, but, 80 some odd years getting in prison tends to chill you out a little bit.
Then after Loki loses eyes, Puck shows up. I forget who Puck is. But, and there's also the story, which there's one point Loki's talking to Puck issues ago where he talks about how he tricked Thor and made Thor think he had was pregnant and fucked his wife while he was laying there full of shit or something, full of oil, and had a cork up his ass. Like, that was a funny. Because it comes back when Odin and Thor take Loki, and Loki's like, I fucked your wife.
I was teaching her all kinds of crazy positions.
Interestingly enough, Puck's just like, yeah, all right, cool, you found us. I'm out.
Bye. Ain't my problem anymore.
I'm not a fighter. I had fun. I'm going to go bother the fairies now. Later.
God, the whole thing where they tie him up and where Loki's tied up and that drip, it's just, I forgot. That's from Norwegian myth, right?
Yes, that's Norse mythology. Okay. That he has a snake that drips the acid or the venom onto him every day or whatever.
Yep. And he's got his wife there catching it.
Yeah.
And then she has to empty the bowl, during which time he gets the acid on his face, and then he heals while the acid is coming back into the bowl. It's basically, what's his bucket with the liver?
Yeah, Prometheus.
Yes, thank you.
Because he gave fire to humans. Yes.
Yep.
It's also in a Hercules TV made for TV movie. But not the liver part, but the Prometheus part. I was a big fan of those shows until I found out Kevin Sorbo was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I really wanted to meet him one day, and now I'm like, I think I can. And then this is when Kane gets killed, but hey, at least they didn't kill he didn't kill the gargoyle,
Abel.
But he still has Abel. Sorry, Abel gets killed, and that gargoyle from like book 2 or 3 is here still. That little baby gargoyle.
The gargoyle's still alive.
It is so sad though. You can see that he's crying.
Yeah,
like that is. Look, I'm a sucker for a cute animal, and that's very sad. I feel so bad for Goldie in that moment.
Yeah. I do love Abel's like, you can't kill me. You don't even love me.
And okay, then I see what you mean. This is when Puck goes to the fairy world and is fucking around with the fairies.
Yep.
And then you get to one of the sadder parts in here. This hit me too, where you see the fairies are just murdering everybody in the dream world, and you have Merv with a fucking machine gun shooting things.
And this is also, to go back to Puck, like, it reminds me of the Warriors, where he's just like, I just like doing this kind of thing. Because she's like, so you did it to help me? And he's like, no. I just did it because I thought it would be funny. Like, I'm just messing with people. That's the whole thing. And then it got like too real, so I left.
I do like the idea that Merv is like a Vietnam vet or some war vet.
Yeah, I know he's Mark Hamill in the
Live action.
the Netflix show, but I picture him as sounding like the Thing, like because he's always smoking a cigar and he's just got that like New York kind of mentality to me.
Yeah, that's fair. And he is orange. I mean, that's racist,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but
Oh, wait, because it's Puck that tells the fairy that she should call Dream, that he's in trouble, isn't it?
Right, and he's just like,
Yep.
yeah, that like we set it up so that he's gonna be killed, and she's like, so you did that to help me, and he's like, no.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love the cigar smoke. Like, it's such a good art touch of the cigar smoke in Marvin's eyes every time that it's like they're going back up through his eye holes.
And then you get the best line in this entire book. In response to, we are the kindly ones, we are the Eumenides. Yeah, well, Humanity is this, and he opens fire. It's so stupid. I love it.
I'm your worst nightmare, a pumpkin with a gun.
I like Merv. All this time when you had said I was going to like Merv, and I finally did.
But then the bullets just reflected back at him.
Yeah, it was. I was sad when I saw Merv get murdered. I really was. I was like, you killed Merv.
And then this is when Lucian takes Morpheus to task.
Because could Morpheus have done something to stop them and just chooses not to?
Ultimately, he can't. Like, even if he brings it back, they're just going to kill him again.
I mean, yeah, all he can do is let them get their vengeance that they're there for.
Okay, that's fair. And they do get their vengeance, so all right. I didn't realize, well, of course, as I was reading this book the first time, that when she calls him, God, I keep forgetting her name, the fairy ends up calling Dream to come back. Oh, yeah, Delirium's the one that tells her that he's in trouble. Then she ends up calling him, or maybe that's a different issue. No,
Yeah.
that's this issue.
Like, Nuala's walking on a path and almost runs into the Fates, but runs into Delirium instead with her little nightmare. The Borgol Rantipole. Great name.
What is that thing?
Just a little nightmare Dream created.
Just a weird little guy.
Yeah. And Nuala says, well, did you check where you left your dog? And Delirium, like, this is the first time this has occurred to her.
What do you mean,
Oh.
look where I left something? That's crazy talk.
Maybe.
It is good, though. It was a good little scene. Yeah, because then she calls you. Okay, you have a small scene with Rose on a plane for some reason, flying back and creeping out a lady, I guess.
Yep. And the book that Rose is reading is Here Comes a Candle, which was one of the books that was written by the person who kept Calliope captive as the muse.
Oh,
Wow.
I did not put two and two together. Okay,
Yeah, that made me happy. I was like,
Okay,
oh,
that's-
nice little callback.
that's cool. I appreciate that. And then when you have Dream ends up leaving the dream to come see her to grant her boon, that's when she finds out that she fucked up.
Before that, though, we get
Yes.
Celia Cripps, the lady sitting next to her on the plane. Do you remember Celia Cripps?
Not at all.
Celia Cripps is, the daughter of the woman who was Roderick Burgess's lover.
I don't remember who that is.
Roderick Burgess was the guy who imprisoned, what's his face? Dream.
Morpheus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And-
Ethel Cripps was her mother, I guess, right?
Yes. Ethel Cripps was her mother, and John Dee was her sister. John Dee was the one who went crazy in the diner.
Yeah, this was volume 1.
Yep. Dr. Destiny. You like that. I remember that, Mike.
Yes, I
You
did.
like-
I like the live action one too.
Yeah. I should watch the live action one again.
Have they
I'll
done?
give you a
Have
reason
they,
to when this is all over with.
yeah, they said when season 2, they're doing a season 2, right?
Yeah, they have confirmed. They have somebody who's playing the role of the prodigal, who we all know who that is. Destruction, baby. Oh, yeah. They've released some teasers. They're already. I think they've finished filming season 2 now.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like there's like episode titles and stuff out. So yeah, I guess it's coming out probably in the next year.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Well, that'll
very
be good.
thrilled.
I forgot Dead Boy Detectives came out too already.
Yep.
I haven't watched it yet, but I know it's out.
Yeah, but we already met them. They were in volumes past.
Yes, a long fucking time ago. Okay, this brings us to part 11. This is where you have Corinthian brings Daniel to the dream to Lucian. I'm trying to think what else
But runs
happened.
into Kane along the way, and Kane just
Oh, that's not Lucian. You're right. That is Kane.
Kane's just sad.
Well, his brother was killed.
He kills his own brother.
Yeah.
But now there's no coming back. Like, his whole world's being destroyed, and he's not taking that very well. But then they get shelter at the castle, essentially. And the four of them are let in. The four of them being Corinthian, Daniel, Kane, and, of course, Goldie.
I like Goldie.
I'm just glad that Goldie lived. But then we also find out that, Morpheus just realized he's not in the dreaming to protect everything because Nuala called him.
Okay. And that's when she asked for his love, and he said, you can have a dream of my love or something like that. I can give you a dream. Yeah, dream of my love. She's like, I already had that. It was sweet. I mean, it's sad what happened, but it was sweet.
Dream's just an idiot. I gave all my love to you years ago. Did you? I did not realize.
So one little part that I appreciated a little too much is when Rose shows up to the nursing home to check on Zelda, and they're like, she passed away, but here's the bill. I can really relate to that for some reason.
Oof.
Cause I get it. I worked in a building like that before. That is like, I was not cold like this woman was when it came to that day, when it came to those type of conversations, but it was just like, whew, the way they wrote it was not that far off from some people, I'm sure.
And then Rose gives grapes and flowers and chocolates to the old homeless man. And then the homeless man says, hey, thank you. And the homeless man's dog says, I'm going to help you eat them chocolates.
I caught that. I'm like, wait a second. When I read that, I'm like, that's the dog. And I did the Leonardo meme at the book. Because I read this whole thing physical. I didn't read this book at all digital like I read most of my comics.
Good for you.
Well, bought all the damn Sandman. I might as well. I bought them so my wife could read them all, but that ship has sailed, and me hoping that will happen. So I'm like, I'll just read the damn physical copies.
Good. Something fun about having tangible pages.
There is. I do appreciate it more with Sandman, and Sandman's the only book that I will buy. Like I'm trying to get the whole volume. I almost even bought the Death miniseries a couple days ago.
You should.
Probably will, but fucking Sandman. Okay, this is when they see Lucian, and then Daniel's playing with some orb, but I didn't understand the what that orb represented. I didn't know if that had. I'm assuming that had some meaning or something, but I didn't understand it now or then.
I don't know if it's explained what it is.
No.
You have Destiny seeing other Destinies. I thought that was kind of cool. Why he's reading the book.
Mm-hmm. All the different.
Morphe goes back to the dreaming, and he's attacked by the Furies, and he starts bleeding. That's what happens here.
Yep, they hit him with the Scorpion Whip, and they drew first blood.
Okay, this is where they look real evil and kind of dominatrix for some reason. In this page with Lita, I'm looking at here near the end.
Yep. And this is where you find out that Lita is there.
In the dreaming?
Well, with the Furies.
Okay.
Because she's like, that's Daniel. That's my baby.
But the last page of this got me excited when he pulls out the damn mask. I got happy. I'm like, it's been a while.
Well, time to go fuck shit up.
And then that brings us to part 12, where you have, so he has the mask, he has a green stone, which he mentions the ruby from book 1. And he gives the emerald to Daniel and says, this has some of my power. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to make it just because of some of the comment. Well, one I already knew, but Ken's like, did you not realize what book 10 is called? Like,
so like the last volume ended with a big funeral in the sky.
Yeah, that too. But I do like when he's like, hey, I'm leaving, Matthew, you're free. Like, I won't, he's just saying goodbye. He's like, wait, I'll see you again. And he's like, sure you will. Or no, Matthew goes with him. That's what it was. Because he knew he was not coming back.
And Dream is conferred with Daniel already.
I think they all kind of, Lucian knows what's happening. I'm pretty sure. Right. And they draw Delirium different again here when Delirium is talking with the mask lady for the devil. And I just love the way she changes.
Oh, that's the thing with Delirium. It's ever changing.
Great. The character is great. So the drag queen that Rose is talking to here, is that somebody from a different arc?
Yep.
Okay.
That's Hal.
Don't remember Hal.
Hal was from the Dollhouse.
Okay.
He was the one who owned the house where Chantal and Zelda lived, and Ken and Barbie and Rose and Gilbert.
Okay. I don't remember him being a drag queen or any reference to that. Maybe it wasn't there back then, or just been 4 years.
Yeah, he wasn't a drag queen, or at least he didn't present as one like in the house, but it was something he was doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did see that, and it's like that was a reveal. And now I guess he's become like a big successful drag queen.
Hey, maybe he's on RuPaul.
If that
I've
show would have
watched-
existed, probably.
I watched way too much of that show. Okay. I just couldn't remember. I figured it was a character from there, but and again, thankfully they don't draw Rose as young again, which I appreciate every time. She doesn't look like she's under 18.
But she's there to tell Hal about the funeral for Zelda, and he says, "Nope."
Yeah, this was, and we understand. At least I think you can understand why Hal is just like, okay, like a 30-year-old died, of AIDS. Like, I don't want to be at this funeral. And Zelda has to be like, it's not what you think. Like, it's literally just a blood transfusion I think it's because of the Dr. Destiny like event or whatever, where they just had a bunch of like organ donors. And so she just happened to get, an organ donation by someone who was HIV positive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Hal is obviously not accepting, like, I don't want anything to do with AIDS, but then is like, oh, okay, it's not feels bad about it.
Yeah. Well, Chantal was the one that got the transplant. So you're kind of just left to imagine how Zelda got it, which not terribly hard.
But it's still like, that's just like literally, bad luck.
Yeah, it's truly unfortunate. Like a lot of AIDS deaths that happened, they're all very unfortunate.
But it really does fit the 90s because this would have been a big topic at the time.
Yep.
I mean, it's not something I really think about. I mean, but so.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a bigger. I mean, whenever we were first introduced to the characters, it would have been like even more of a because by Magic Johnson is HIV positive in what, like 1991 or 92. And I feel like that's around the point when you find out, like, oh, if you actually catch it early, you can be HIV positive and not get AIDS. But this, before that, it was considered a death sentence for, basically over a decade.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Just trying to flipping through some of the pages here. Yeah, this is where Death ends up. The last issue tells the Furies, or he tells the Furies at some point. Oh yeah, no, last issue he'll meet them somewhere to face them off, or to let them kill him, essentially.
Yep. He shows up in full dream regalia. He's got the helmet. He's got the cloak. He's got the sandbag. He's ready.
I gotta say, I really like the. And then you end up seeing Death for the first time this whole book, where she shows up at the dream, and I was like, oh no.
And you got everybody being sad. Lucifer is sad. And
I mean, Lucifer, he's not one of the Endless, but he's close enough to it.
Yeah. And he told him so.
But one thing I think is so good about Sandman is the way the Endless always look a little different. Well, maybe not Despair, but the rest. And I just love the way Death just looks different all the time, and every time it's great.
And it's funny too, because Lucifer, I kind of put it together, but it's like you said he's kind of like one of the Endless. He is a lot like Destruction, in that he similarly was just like, I don't have to do this. I can just walk away. And like, that's, again, it's a thing that Dream can't do, but it's Lucifer is sort of like this kind of a mirror of this other member of the Endless.
Yeah, like what could have Morpheus have been?
Right.
If he wasn't such a stuck-up prude.
Yeah, if he didn't take it so seriously that he's like, no, I have to respect my sigil and blah blah blah.
And then right before he ends up facing the Furies, he gives the mask and the sandbag, which again made me smile, to Matthew to take away. And then Matthew brings it back to the dreaming, and that's when he sees Death. And that brings us to the last part of this book.
Part 13, Lucky 13.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw the panel of him sitting there without a shirt on and Death shows up, and he's like, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, waiting for you. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. It's really kind of just the perfect ending.
It is.
And he gives her a loaf of bread. And she makes pigeons to feed.
Oh.
One last time.
And it's a, if you, from the last issue, from him getting all his accessories and everything, you thought this was going to be a big epic fight with the Furies. It's like, nope, we're not doing that.
Yep. It's the end. It's anticlimactic, just like real endings.
And this is when she says he could have just took down his sigil and just left.
Mm-hmm.
And just survived. And he's like, nope, I could not. I like how she's like, nope, you couldn't. Could you? Every time, especially in this, the way they drew Death here, I would have been that guy in the first arc when they first see Death. He's like, hey, hitting on her right before he gets hit by a car. I'd be that idiot too. So
I do like her oh so perfect gothy umbrella.
Do too.
And then he starts talking about how he was forced to leave the dreaming, and Death's like, don't blame Nuala. You didn't have to do anything.
I do like when the fairies are yelling at him, and then Death is like, shut up. I do like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, again, to like take it to sort of the Hades world, like the Furies are chthonic entities, just like Hades and Nyx, who's night in Greek mythology, and all these other sort of characters. But it's like, so Death is like, that's Thanatos, that's like another one of them. And so it is an endless, like, she is not beholden to whatever, their like death powers.
Yeah, she's not beholden to anything.
Yeah, it's like,
And
they're in the same realm, but like she is an endless, and they're, these sort of primal figures of, again, kind of like I said, kind of titans or chthonic gods.
And then just the way it ends, she's like, Dream, give me your hand. And then you see their fingers touch, and then you just see a flash of light, and that's nothing.
And that's it.
It's so
And
sad.
Everybody feels to death.
I thought that was cool.
And, Titania and Claricon were trying to stop Nuala from leaving. But after Dream dies, they're just like, whatever, go away.
They're assholes. That's okay.
Yeah.
Lyda is like terrorized by this happening. This is not what she wanted to happen.
But Delirium
that
finds
guy-
the dog.
Oh, yeah, Delirium finds the dog. That guy finally wakes up.
Oh, the guy, who's been cursed for like the last 5 or 6 years.
More than that. It's like 50,
And, sorry.
I think about like 50 years or something.
Well, no, because he was cursed by Morpheus when he got out.
Man, hasn't Morpheus been out for a while at this point?
Only a few years.
Not really.
Okay, that's not that bad. Then I was
Like
thinking,
it was
hey,
in the
you were
80s.
Okay, if you were sleeping for 50 years, I wouldn't want to wake back up. Just stay dead at that point,
Yep. And Lucifer decides he's calling it quits on the nightclub. In a way, everybody's moving on from everything that they were doing up until the moment Dream died.
Yep. Thessaly, kind of nurses Lyda back up and is like, hey, you've kind of been, you were a pawn and whatever. And it's like, yeah, you're never going to see your son again. And by the way, a bunch of people are probably going to want to kill you, including me.
I like that.
Yeah. By the way, here's some tea.
Oh, and then you have the page that upset me, that I spoiled myself. You see the dreaming, you see Daniel holding the green orb, and then all of a sudden Daniel becomes the Sandman.
The new Sandman.
Yep.
I feel like he probably doesn't have that many appearances. My dumbass had to pick one of them.
Yeah,
He's got enough appearances.
I mean, he's been in a few books, because it's like, this is not even the end. There's one more volume. This.
Yeah.
And then the last couple pages are the last page is again the same page you had that you started this whole book of the maid, the mother, and the crone, where they have a fortune cookie, and then the fortune says, followers gathered in the morning, afternoon they blossom on, all are withered by the evening, you can be with me when I'm gone. And they cut the string, and then that's the end of the book.
Yep. And we did it.
It was my most unlike Sandman book so far. And that's just the context. Not the writing is still great. So,
Well, like I said off air, this is a sad boy book.
yeah.
This is a book all about death and transitions and moving on. And it's probably the saddest book. Like, even I personally think this is the saddest book. This one affected me the most.
Okay.
Emotionally, reading through it first time and every time afterwards.
Okay. And I see the last one's only 6 issues, so we go back to our normal size books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We should go to Shelf Stacker Box. I'm just going to go first since I think it's more obvious. I was torn to put this in the box before we started talking, but after our conversation and you guys brought up good points, I'm going to put it in the stack. Still fucking well written, good book. Just, I don't like really depressing things, but again, this isn't the final chapter of a series. This is near the end of a series type of thing. So I have to look at it like that, but it's going to the stack, but it's still fucking good. And what about you, Chris?
I think this is I would shelf this. This is still very good. We just, not to go on, we've gone on enough tangents, but it's just like, this is very much like Death in a dream doesn't mean actual death, like that's and you don't have to be like an expert in Jungian psychology or Freudian psychology. It's like it means change. That's what death means. If you have a dream about it, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm literally going to die. It means like that's something in your life that you're sort of thinking about is changing. And so that he's able to use this as a metaphor for change and kind of moving on. Like that's kind of what this whole thing's been about. So I do think it's a very good ending of this Morpheus's story. As we see, there's going to be another one. It's just going to continue. But yeah, I really like it. I know the art is a little bit hit or miss, but I still like it. So I would still put it on the shelf.
Okay. I did scroll at the next issue, just like 2 pages worth, and that's all the art is different. I'm like, oh, thank God. So, all right, and Ken.
I'm going to put this on the shelf. I'm a sucker for sad boy books. And gosh, it doesn't get much better than this one. And like Chris said, this is less about actual death and dying and more about change. This is the end of one story and the beginning of another story cycle. Like nothing's changed, but everything's changed, if that makes sense.
It does.
Like the roles are still there. Everybody still has a part to play, just different players now. And it's very affecting after you spend the majority of 9 volumes with our dream, our Morpheus. A new one is going to be tough to deal with at first. And it's sad when somebody you love dies. And there's a lot of actual death in this book, too. You got Zelda, you got technically the physical aspect of Daniel. There's just, it's change. And it's good. But it also sucks sometimes. And I think that's where this book sits. It's going on the shelf, though.
Okay. And that's completely fair and makes sense what you guys are saying. This is one of those cases where I can appreciate something, even if it isn't for me, I can definitely appreciate it. But I can tell you, I'm ready to read The Wake and put these 10 books done. But then there's also 11 and then the 2 Dream Hunter books and Overture and then Death and fucking Sandman.
Let's get through the 10 first.
I know. That'll happen for sure sooner than later. So, all right, I think that wraps up Sandman the Comic ones. If you enjoyed this, check out all the other Sandman books. Hopefully, spoilers. Obviously, I didn't say that, but go check out the rest of them. We have done all 8 volumes up to this in order. You can find it on Podbean. And Chris, where can people find you at?
You can find me on my various podcasts. Some of my friends read comics with Vince Goodwin and Kia, and you can also find me on Your Stupid Minds, where we're talking about bad movies. We have just recently done a couple of episodes celebrating the life of Roger Corman, speaking of wakes, because he passed away, didn't quite make it to 100, but had a huge influence on bad cinema. And so we covered 2 of the, I think, more than 400 movies that he produced. And so there's a lot of fun to talk about.
That's a lot of movies.
Yep, most of them very bad, but that's how it goes.
Wasn't he the Fantastic Four guy that never got released? Wasn't that one of his movies?
He's the one that made the incredibly cheap Fantastic Four movie that you could for years only find at Comic-Con bootleg video sections, but has been on YouTube, I believe, for the last 10 years.
And they're actually trying to get an official release for it.
Which is crazy.
I think they should do it.
I think there's been a somewhat authorized DVD, but yeah, he's released a lot of movies. Again, most of them bad, but he also, he worked with people like Francis Ford Coppola, Jack Nicholson. His very first film roles were with him. Just tons of people who then would go on to be Hollywood royalty. The director of Silence of the Lambs and various other films got his start with Corman. So he really set people out with no money and was like, do you know how to do this? Can you go make a movie? Peter Bogdanovich. And it's just hey, I'm sending you, you have no money, you have 2 weeks, give me a movie. Martin Scorsese, just on and on and on.
That's cool. Okay. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's over 600 other episodes of this podcast that we have done. You can find everything on Podbean. We do comics, movies, TV shows, all sorts of content. So go check out our giant catalog. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon for those $1 a month. You can vote our Patreon. We have different polls every month. We have a Discord. Please join our Discord. Chat with us. Want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Free. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and check out Gamer Looks at 48 Bill Tucker. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, audio only, but we can be found on all those different platforms. And rate and reviews wherever you get your podcast. I think it's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
So long.